me right now. First things first, you introduce yourself in the comments section. Tell us what you do and where you are from, so everyone else can know about you. All right, we expect more people this evening, so I'm gonna start in 1 minute. Just introduce yourself, and in today we will talk about schedule activities and relationships. So I think many planning engineers are confused in this area. We will talk about several topics in the subject, so I'm sure it's gonna be very interesting. And we will start right away. I'm just waiting for everyone else to join. And if you have just joined me right now, we will talk about schedule activities and relationships. Introduce yourself in the comment section. Tell us what you do and where you are from, so everyone else can know about you. Okay. So I see more people are coming right now. And I will not say this workshop is only for beginners, because some experienced planning engineers have confusion about certain topics like redundant logic, drivers, resources driven relationships. So we'll talk about all of that. And I will also answer some of the questions at the end. So if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments section. And at the end of the session, I'm going to answer all of them. Hi, Prabhu from Singapore. It's good to have you. Hi, Sunny. Good to have you with us. We have Alfredo as well from Philippines. It's good to have you. Hello, Abdulrahman. It's good to have you. We have also Benson from Guinea. Hi, Faisal from Pakistan. Mr. Ahmed from Niger. Hi, Salahuddin. We have also Jamal from the UK. It's very early in the UK right now. Hi, Alfan from Saudi. We have also Mahmoud. Hi from Saudi. Mr. Ahmed from Kuwait. Omver from India. Frederick from Kenya. Ola from Melbourne. Salam Mariam. Wa alaikum salam Irfan. Hi Abdulrahman. I want to learn Primavera quickly and Power BI. I'm gonna answer all questions at the end of the session. And if you have just joined me right now, introduce yourself in the comments section. Tell us what you do and where you are from, so everyone else can know about you. Second, if you have any questions, you can post them in the comments section. And at the end of the workshop, I'm gonna go over all questions. Mansour from Nigeria. Hi Hisham. Ashwin from Oman. Abdul Rahman, hi. Har Amlan from India. Salahuddin from Abu Dhabi. Adnan from Pakistan. Asad from Pakistan. Vandit from Cambodia. Hamseth from Sri Lanka. Bilal from Saudi. Mirza, hi. Hi. Mahsa from Sydney, Australia. Zubair, hi Salam. Omar, I am attending your live session first time. It's good to have you, and I hope it will not be the last. Abdul Rahman from India. Hi Zubair. Bilal, planning engineer. Hi Asim and Omar. Okay, so we have more people, and it's so amazing how all of us can connect at the same time at different places across the globe. We have also Haji from Somalia. So if you have just joined me right now, we will talk about schedule activities and relationships. And let's get into the workshop right now. I'm gonna show you what you are going to learn today. And before we start, I'm gonna ask you for a quick favor. Maybe you are joining me for the first time, or maybe you have been following me for a while and you can receive a value from my content. Feel free to like, comment, and share the live stream right now. It takes 2 seconds to do so. I truly appreciate your support, and you can always come back to the live stream right away. It only takes 2 seconds. Okay, so I can see more people are sharing the live stream. Thank you very much for your support. I really appreciate it. And I'm gonna give you right now like 5 seconds so you can do so and come back to the live stream. Hi Marvin, it's good to have you. Ammar from Egypt, Sijit from Indonesia, Amlan, hi. Hi Olawol from Qatar. Okay, let's start our workshop. Okay, before I start, some of you have been following me for a while, but some of you watch me for the first time. So I'm gonna give a little bit about myself before I move on. I am a practitioner in project control since 2010, skilled in planning, Power BI, delay analysis, and claims, bachelor in civil engineering. I studied my MBA in the UK. I did all my research around the construction during my study there. I worked in super large construction projects, member of PMI and the AACEI. I served as the director of marketing at AACEI, the UAE chapter. In the past, it was a volunteer role. I am based in the UAE and I offer project control services for companies, delay analysis and claims consultations, and project control training. I am PMP, PSP, and PMISP certified. What will you learn today? Best practices for activity ID, activity description, and duration, soft and hard logic, redundant logic, logic and resources driven relationships, and the drivers relationships. Okay, because some people look at adding activities as an easy and straightforward task. It might be the case for some experienced planning engineers, but there is a lot that we need to cover. There are best practices, which I'm going to explain in this workshop. For any activity, we have the activity ID, activity description, and the original duration. And each one of them has best practices that we need to follow. Let's start with the activity ID. But before I start, I'm gonna do a little test in the comments section. If if you can hear me properly, and if you can see the screen, and if everything is working well from your end, just type OK in the comments section so I know that there is no problem and I move on so we will not have a problem. Okay, so I think there is no problem. Okay, perfect. So all good. The activity ID. You need to structure it in a way that will help you identify the activity type quickly. Is it engineering, concrete, finishes, testing, construction, or whatever it might be? Short and precise length. I prefer to have approximately 10 characters. You will not find something universal framework that you have to follow, or a recommended practice from ASEI that will tell you everything that you need to do regarding the activity ID, but it is based on my experience and I have good reason for that. I do not, everything I am sharing with you in a workshop or on social media, I can guarantee you that nothing is theoretical. Everything is tested, is proven, and is 100% practical. And so I don't tell you, do that, or I don't ask you to do a specific thing, but at the same time, I explain the rationale why we do things certain way. So it's really up to you if you wanna do it or not. I approximately 10 characters. You need to include a legend that explains the structure. So let's look at one example. All right, you have like a hierarchy. So you have the legend here, WBS first level. I will include 2 digits in my activity ID. Second level, maybe 3 digits. Third level, 2 digits. It's only a guidance. Feel free to customize it if you want to. So let's look at one example. So if the activity starts with GR, it means it's a general WBS, general activity, maybe a milestone. But let's look at something more comprehensive and detailed. Let's look at something in construction. If the activity ID starts with CM, it means it's a construction activity. If the following characters or sub or anything that falls in this category, and this is the corresponding description. So for example, a substructure activity will look like that, with an activity ID that will start with CN followed by sub. Okay, let's look at maybe finishes activities, and I also provide examples, and this is something you want to do as well for an easy reference for your audience. For a finishes activities, it's a construction activity. Clearly, it's CN, starts with CN, followed by the zone F02, which is floor 2, and it's here as well, F0 number, 01, 02, 03, right? Followed by FN. What is FN? It's a finishes activities. It's only an example. You don't have to list all examples, but it's something that will help the reviewer understand what you are trying to do. And you should, because a schedule is a language. Maybe you are fluent in some languages. It means that you can communicate ideas, right? And thoughts. A schedule is not any different. A schedule is a language. You try to communicate, the scope, the sequence of activities, calendars, dates, milestones, constraints. You are to communicate all of that. And it's a language that you have to learn and master and become fluent, of it over time. I hope it makes sense. So I'm trying, to help you build this mindset. So it's something that you have to create, and it is something that you need to include as a part of your narrative report when you submit a schedule. So everyone will be on the same page. The reviewer will understand what you are trying to say, because if you keep this information exclusive for you, it's useless, because you are the only one who understands the meaning behind the activity ID. But when you communicate that, everyone can understand your language and speak your language back to you. Right? Could be testing. So I'm basically, adding that's everything in my schedule so far. We can also go for a procurement. It's under engineering category. I might choose, is it provisional sum or is it preparation of the drawing? Procurement, it could be something, like long lead or domestic. I try to be as comprehensive as possible. I cannot cover everything, but enough. Like this is like the sufficient level of details for me. I cannot go any deeper. Right. So of course we have right now 2 digits at the first level, 3 digits in the second level, maybe 2 more digits in the third level. So overall 7, and I also add the increments. So I cannot just have this part only of the activity ID. So I need to add increments like 10, 20, etc. while I add more activities. So overall, you're gonna maybe have maximum approximately like 10 digits. Try to be consistent as much as possible. Don't have maybe 4 digits for some activities and 12 characters for other activities. It will not be consistent. It will not look nice or professional, because you can see when you look at the schedule, you know you cannot find symmetry, and humans love symmetry. We love things when they are organized and symmetric. So it's a bit annoying when you don't see a nice alignment. If you understand what I mean, it will not look nice. So that's my take on the activity ID. You can have something like that. Add your initials. It can be more or less. You can have few examples in each category. And that's it. Maybe have some revisions. So it's really up to you. Activity description. We can also have best practices. It should be short, precise, and to the point. And by the way, there are limitations to the activity description in Primavera. So you cannot explain everything, and it is not a best practice to explain everything, because it is not meant to be that way. You want to have a consistent structure across the schedule, as much as you can, but not necessary. It's for presentation purposes only. So for example, that's my preferred method. I start with verb, activity nature, then location. Here is an example. Apply paint for walls. So if you have the activity description as wall paint, is it wrong? No. But if you want to keep it that way, try to be consistent as much as possible. Because everything you do is for humans, right? And our brains are wired to decipher information and respond to data in a certain way. So that's my take on it. So since we learn it in school, we were taught about organizations and have consistency. So we grew up, don't blame the reviewer, just blame the system, or how humans are wired. So if you have a description like wall paint, and follow it like maybe wall paint for rooms, and then the next activity will be apply paint, like it just doesn't look nice. It's not consistent. So try to be consistent as possible. I like this format: verb, then activity nature, then location. Here are some examples, and nothing is wrong with that. You can have columns, concrete, apply paint for walls, floor tiles, tiles for floors, but try to be consistent as much as possible. The final element in adding activities is the original duration. Duration is strongly associated with productivity rates. So I'm going to touch on productivity rates a little bit. And by the way, if you want to learn about cost and resource loading and how to calculate productivity rates, I have done a detailed step-by-step workshop in the past. So check it out on my YouTube channel. You can search my name, Osama Saad, and you will find I have over 100 videos right now. So check this workshop and the other videos as well. Many planning engineers ask me for standard productivity rates, but it's a myth. It does not exist. Because there are factors that will impact productivity. The years of experience for the labor, location, company or project size, previous experience in similar projects, local or employers' safety requirements. Like I'm gonna give you one example, quick example. One carpenter who has 20 years of experience working in super large construction projects with one of the top 5 contractors in the US, okay, which is a developed country. Compare his productivity to a carpenter who has only 2 years of experience in very small projects with a small size contractor in a developing country. Can you imagine the difference in productivity? I give two extremes, but you can understand my point because the actual productivity can fall anywhere along the spectrum. So when you ask me for the standard productivity rate, like I don't have it for you. Like what is your unique specific situation, the size of your company, the previous experience? Are you a large, big contractor? Uh, do you work in developed or developing country? Like there are so many factors, and that's why you have to observe the productivity rate for your own unique situation. Duration is a function of resources. So if one labor can get the work done in 2 days, two laborers will get it done in 1 day. Here is the formula to calculate labors or even durations. Number of labors, it's quantity over duration, time, productivity. Quantity is fixed, it's known, it's your BOQ or project scope. You cannot assume that it's given. The productivity rate is given, like it's something you have to deal with. That's what I mean. You cannot increase or decrease. That's your own company's productivity. So which variable to calculate? Should I say that I have 10 labors available in my company? What is the corresponding duration to do that? Should we follow this approach or should we assume the duration? We're gonna say like it's gonna take maybe 5 days, and how many labors do I need to fulfill or complete the activity within 5 days? So that's the tricky part. And let's test the first approach. You can say sometimes that, oh, I have 10 carpenters in my company. All right, so you put 10, quantity is given, productivity is given, you calculate duration, and you insert that into the schedule. But something is wrong here because I cannot complete the project based on what you have. Maybe you have shortage of labors. And maybe the project in this case will be completed in 2 years instead of 1 year, which is what the contract requires. And many planning engineers make this mistake. So the assumed duration, for example, 5 days. Then the project manager will say, like, it's impossible to finish in 5 days. I only have 3 masons. But the constraint is the time, not the resources. The constraint is the project duration. You have to complete the project in 1 year, which means you have to assume duration, reasonable estimation as well, to complete the project in 1 year. That's my constraint. Then you have to find a way to acquire the necessary manpower to fulfill these requirements. So like as a best practice, you assume duration based on the constraints you have, time constraints, then you have to provide the required resources. So that's my take. So when you create a schedule or add an activity, estimate durations first, and when you finalize the schedule, and fine tune it, you have to make sure you have the required resources to complete the project on time. Another concept is the soft logic and hard logic. A soft logic is flexible. Maybe you only have one electrician, for example. You want the electrician to install light fittings. Then start installing the smoke detectors. But it is not, they are not really related to each other. Because if you install the smoke detectors first, nothing is wrong with that. So in this case, like at soft logic, maybe you have done it, maybe you have done it for a specific purpose, but it is not related to the logic itself. Maybe you want the one electrician, to stay longer because you have fluid, for example, and just let the electrician install fittings, then move forward to the smoke detectors. Hard logic, on the other hand, it's mandatory, it's not flexible. For example, the relationship between block and the plaster. You cannot start a plaster without block, right? That's a hard logic. You have to do the form work before concrete. There is no workaround. Redundant logic, which is really, really important concept in planning. If I have three activities, activity A, activity B, then activity C, and you have finished to start relationship between activity A and B, and the finish to start relationship between B and C. It's not a good practice to link activity A and C. It's redundant. It doesn't make any sense because the dates of activity C are calculated and driven by the dates of activity B. They are not driven by activity A. So why would you add this relationship? It's redundant. It's useless. It doesn't make sense. But if it doesn't hurt, why is it a bad practice to keep it, right? It doesn't cause any problem, right? So if I keep it, yes, I know the CPM network will be calculated based of activity C dates based on activity B. So I can just add this relationship. But the problem is we experience changes throughout the project. In many cases, you will probably most likely apply and document schedule changes throughout the project, because everything beyond the data date is an assumption based on your maybe expert judgment or the level of knowledge you have so far about the project, but things change. Like for example, soft logic. Maybe you want to do false ceiling first, then floor tiles, because maybe that's the preferred method. And it happened to me in one of my projects. But there was a problem in false ceiling, some changes. So it doesn't make sense to wait for the false ceiling to be completed before you start the floor tiles. So what happens is in the project, we did the floor tiles, then we came back to the full ceiling because it's a soft logic. It's different from the nature of relationship between block and the plaster. So we did the floor tiles, we applied protection, and we did the full ceiling. So in this case, you have to make changes to the schedule so that the schedule will be feasible and reliable, and it will not produce misleading information, because now the sequence changed, and if you keep the relationships as they are, it will show you something like the floor tiles is way in delay because you have to wait for the full ceiling, but it is already in progress and you will probably complete it within the next 2 weeks, right? So when you have redundant logic, there is a high chance that you will keep some of the original logic attached, to the previous estimations. So I have right now, for example, let me think about a good example. All right, so maybe you can change the relationship um, between C and B. Maybe C will start before B or B will start before A. But in your logic, you're gonna drive activity C by activity A, because the redundant logic is now driving or causing unnecessary delay. So that's why you want to avoid redundant logic. So when you make the changes and maybe resequence the work, you're gonna do minimum changes. We have two types of relationships, the logic driven and the resources driven. And it is something not everyone is talking about, but I'm gonna prove to you right now that it is super important with real life examples, by the way. I'm not gonna just explain the concepts, but I'm gonna show you nice visualizations and graphics to make you understand it. And this is where actually, if you are struggling with inaccurate schedules in your projects, it's probably because of you did not consider the logic and the resources driven relationships. A logic driven relationship is very easy and straightforward. It's a block, then plaster, then paint. Okay? All maybe finish to start relationships. All right. Here is what I mean by resources driven relationship. For the first floor, I have a set of logic driven relationships. Block, plaster, paint, false ceiling, then tiles. This is my second floor, and this is my third floor. Right. Let's look at the plaster. The plaster in green here in the first floor and the second floor and third floor. Let's look at the overlap. So in the black area, I have overlap between floor 1 and the floor 2. And the black area here is for the overlap between floor 2 and the floor 3. And the red area is for the overlap between floor 1, floor 2, and the floor 3. And it happens, by the way, it's very natural because you link the block work, finish to start. And by the way, I did not do any, I did not do anything different here. I just kept the relationships as they are. And here is what Primavera will process the information. It will show you that you need maybe 2 masons here, then 5 masons here because we have overlap, or maybe let's make it 4 because 2 masons here in the floor 1, then 4 masons in the overlap area because 2 masons are working in floor 1 and the 2 masons are working in floor 2. Then you have 6, right? Because we have overlap among all 3 floors. Then you have 4. Then you have 2. Is it really logical in real life to have something like that? To tell the team that first 2 days you have 2 masons, then 2 days later you need 4 masons, then 6 masons, then 4 masons. No, you probably have 6 masons available on site. And they are working all the time, right? In different places. So you utilize the 6 masons. You don't keep some of them idle, and you want to make sure that all of them are well utilized and they are sufficient to complete the progress as planned. So that's why we need to introduce a new type of relationships, which is the resources-driven relationships. Basically, you want to link the similar activities finish to start as well, or maybe start to start, but you have to link them somehow. Here is one example. So that's my set of logic-driven relationships for floor 1, for floor 2, but I'm going to introduce this relationship for the plaster work. So in this case, I will keep natural and smooth flow of plaster work and the utilization of masons. So if I have 6 masons, they're gonna finish the plaster, then move to second floor, okay, which is, of course, it makes sense. And if you look at second floor, you will see that you finished the block work, and you cannot start the plaster right away because you are waiting for the masons to complete the work. at floor 1, which is, by the way, that's real life. And if you don't introduce the resources-driven relationship, you will have draining requirements, right? People will look at your schedule and they will say that it is not realistic, which is true, because they cannot fulfill your requirements. They cannot follow your dates. They cannot fulfill your resources allocations and assignments. They cannot, just because it's too much overlap, it's fluctuating, and it does not align with real life expectations. So that's how, you need to be an engineer first before you become a planner, right? So problem is, I'm not saying that planning engineers don't have the experience, but they don't have the scheduling mindset to do what I have just explained, like introduce the resources driven, add activity description in that way, or calculate the duration in that way. These are the scheduling skills. Okay? Because anyone can, create a schedule. A project manager can create a schedule, but maybe he does not have the advanced scheduling skills. But as a planning engineer, you need to keep that in mind. And finally, we will talk about the driver. In the same example, let's look at plaster work at floor 2. The predecessor, there are two predecessors, the block work at floor 2 and the plaster work at floor 1. But you can see right now that the dates of plaster at second floor are driven by the completion of plaster at floor 1, which means this is the dominant or driver relationships. And in Primavera, you can easily show the box related to the driving relationships. So it's something I want to talk about. You still want to keep this, of course, this relationship, because some people make this mistake. They're going to say, okay, it's driven by plaster, so why should I bother and keep or add this relationship? You have to, because otherwise the block work here will be open-ended activity, and the flow will not be well controlled. Sometimes the schedule will suffocate. So it's always good practice to show all practical predecessors and the successors, regardless the driving nature. Driving, it happens naturally. Something you cannot force. It happens naturally, and sometimes you make changes, as I explained before. So what if you remove the driving relationships? You're going to have another driving relationship, which will come from your, the list of predecessors that you had in place, right? So that's why you need to keep all logical relationships all the time, because you will never know which one is going to be driving right now and which one will be driving in future. Okay. And CPM, like when you look at the CPM network, it's like an ocean. You just if you have a boat or swimming, you have to just let it go, right? Like you have to let the water take care of you. So the CPM is like that. You don't force dates, you don't force relationships or drivers. You just need to let the CPM network takes care of itself. All right, so I hope this workshop was somewhat informative, and we talked about some interesting topics, and hopefully I clarified some of the confusion in that area among planning engineers in the construction industry. And I'm going to go over some of the questions right now. And if you joined me late, I hope you can watch the recording on my LinkedIn profile. But even if you joined late, you can introduce yourself in the comments section. Tell us what you do and where you are from. And also, please share, comment, and share the live stream. It takes you only 2 seconds to do so. and you can always do it and come back to the live stream right away. I truly appreciate your support. All right, so let me go over some of the questions. Okay, we have a question. So when we add the resources, you want to consider if there is enough room for all resources. Yes, it's a concept called space constraints. Of course, you do not want to have 100 masons in the same apartment, even though you want to, you can't. So you have to consider space constraints as well. Yeah, you can validate or test your durations by benchmarking based on like lessons learned or previous projects. Definitely, it's a good idea. Francois from Cameroon joined us. Hi, Edwin from Ghana. Also, if the second floor block work is delayed and not linked to plaster, you will not be able to analyze the delay impact. Definitely, yes. You know, delay analysis is like an outcome of everything that we have been doing so far in the past. Muhammad, when we update the weekly report every month, it automatically shows delays. Can you please suggest an easier way to recover these delays? You should not, aim to recover the delay inside Primavera itself, right? Because if you have a delay in the project, you want to keep it as it is. Because if you keep updating the program to show zero float, the program is useless. So a delay is healthy. You want to show a delay in the project because that it will trigger your actions and help you analyze your recovery measures so far. So what you're gonna do is you have to do the exercise outside Primavera. You wanna provide the targets to your team. Of course, it's going to be more aggressive targets if it makes sense than the baseline, but you cannot depend on the baseline because if a project is in delay, you cannot look at the forecast of the schedule. It doesn't make sense because the forecasts are based on the baseline assumptions, productivities, and the dates. But you cannot follow that anymore because you are in delay, so you need to expedite the progress and apply more aggressive recovery measures. So instead of you cannot take 10 days for that activity anymore. You want to complete it in 8. You don't need 5 masons as per baseline anymore. You need 7, right? So you cannot rely on the baseline assumptions or the forecast in your schedule update. The forecast in the schedule update basically tell you that if you continue the work with your initial assumptions, this is where you will end up, which is great. That's what I expect. So you need to do a separate exercise outside Primavera. It's really a huge topic. Hopefully, we can have a workshop about it in future. Hello, Salim from Sierra Leone. It's good to have you. Hi, Rohit from India. Hi, Olawal. You're welcome. And I can see more people joined a bit late. So if you joined late, please feel free to like, comment, and share the live stream so it can reach more people who can get value from this content. And it takes you 2 seconds to do so. Hi, Ale, following from London. It's good to have you. Thanks, Zain. Appreciate it. Hi, Olawal. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Madhukar. Okay, a question is Jamal Are you going to upload the recording? Yes, it will be there. You can also check my LinkedIn profile anytime. You can watch the recording there. Or if you are on my email list, I'm gonna email it to you. If you are not, you can go to my website, www.smartpmtraining.com, and then maybe you can sign up for my free Power BI Masterclass. If you do so, you will automatically be added to my email list, so you will receive notifications about all upcoming workshops, and I typically do so. Ahmed, when is using the resources-driven relationship approach the priority? It's always a priority. And you just need to have a common sense, like the example I showed you. There was a need, of course, to have a resources-driven relationship. Hi, Muhammad, I appreciate it. Sulaiman, hi, you're welcome. Thank you very much, Jamal. And a question from Ajay. Can you share the active ID sheet? Yes, I will if you are on my email list. How do you know that if you are on the email list? If you have been receiving emails from me or notifications, it means you are on my email list. So I'm going to send you the recording and the activity ID sheet. If you are not, you have to go right now to my website and maybe sign for my, Power BI masterclass, or you can also go to my blog post. I have a box that will ask you to subscribe to my email list. It's better actually to go to my blog, and it's very interesting, by the way. So this way you will be added, and I'm gonna email you the workshop materials. Bonilla, is it logic to use resources-driven relationship with a lag? I'm not really a big fan of lags because it's you know lags lack the description. And here's what I mean by that. If the lag is important enough, why don't you add an activity instead? Like some people say, like curing, for example, they will add lag like 7 days to represent the curing. Why don't you just add an activity called the curing? In many cases, lags are important. They represent something. So just add the activity, because what happens, especially in delay analysis, I think the problem really happens in delay analysis. When you have like a longest path and you're gonna maybe see the flow of the critical path and you will find 7 days gap. What does it mean? In many cases, planning engineers don't explain lags in the narrative report. If you want to use lags, okay, explain them in the narrative. But it's a really stressful task, to go over all lags and just describe them. Because when you sit with a client, you're gonna say, okay, I'm gonna finish all block work with these dates. Then I want 7 days, like lag, like the gap, as a part of my extension of time. So they will ask you, like, what is that? And you're gonna say, oh, it's for curing. But this is what you said. But there is no proof. Like, it's your opinion. It's not documented anywhere. It's not communicated in any way, right? But if it's a proper activity called the curing, we know what it is, right? We know the type of relationships, we know the dates, we know everything, and we know the consequences of, or the any consequences from any change. So if you're gonna do any change in the schedule, we know the consequences on that activity because we know the nature and we are familiar with the attributes. I hope it makes sense. But for lags, like it's like for me, it's like a ghost. You can maybe try to claim for lags, but good luck with explaining that and substantiating that, because a lag on the longest path, each day of a lag cause corresponding increase in the EOT claim, and people go crazy for each 1 day of claim or EOT. They're gonna go crazy. Look, why is that? So you're gonna say, oh, because I have 7 days like gap. So it's just, the employer can tell you, no, it's not for curing. I think it is actually for material logistics, and I already like provided you with the space that you want. You can go on and on and on about arguments and the challenges. So just to have a peace of mind, minimize lags, and if the lag is important enough for you, just add an activity that will represent the scope. Thank you, Basil. All right. So before I finish the session, if you want me to explain certain topics in future workshops, you can comment that. And I will see if people are voting for a specific topic. So I'm gonna consider that in future workshops. And again, make sure to like, comment, and share the live stream. It takes you 2 seconds to do so, and you can help someone out there who wants to learn about this content. Okay, so thanks for supporting my content as well. All right. So I hope this workshop was somewhat informative, and I wish you all the best. All right. And thank you, Bulila. I appreciate it. Okay. So for everyone who like who writes a nice comment, I really appreciate your kind words. But I cannot just explain or show every comment because I would rather answer questions that will help so many people out there. So, but I truly appreciate it. I truly appreciate your support and your kind comments. Okay, so this is it for today, and I wish you all the best.